A lot of times when you think about social media, which I almost hate myself for even saying the word because it's just so ridiculous how social is included in every single thing that people say now. But really, the point is that video is inherently a social media. Think about the last video you watched. How many of you, raise your hand, either the last video you watched shared it with somebody? Not a lot of sharers in the room, okay. How many of you, the last video you watched, somebody shared it with you? Okay, a little better. So what we see is about half of all of YouTube views actually come from sharing. So it comes from email, IM, blogs, other social networks, Twitter, Facebook, etc. And really, it's this inherently social thing. As I was mentioning before about the ad formats, half the people who come to YouTube come in through the front door, right? Come to the homepage, search, or come to the homepage and find some content there. And half of them come in with what we call the side door, right? The side door is somebody emails it to you. It's on a blog, or somebody shares it with you on a social network. So when we say video is inherently social, that's what we mean, right? You have this propensity to share things you like. I'm going to tell you a few things that you already know, I'm sure. It's big, right? Social networking right now. This is a little bit out of date in terms of the stats, but there's more than 800 million unique users on various social networking sites. A ton of time is spent. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. But what I think is really interesting is that it's still a very new opportunity, right? Only 50% of internet users are actively using a social network. And really how all this is going to shake out for advertisers still remains to be seen, right? How many of you have been asked the question, what's the value of a like, right? How many of you are actually meaningfully measuring what the value is of your various social media activity? It's still very early days. There's still a lot of people that are snake oil salesmen, but I'm sure it'll shake out in the next year or two in terms of meaningful metrics, things like that. But when we look at it, we see it as different platforms for different behaviors, right? Facebook is the interaction platform. It's where you go to interact with your friends. It's where you discuss, share, complain, etc. Whereas Twitter is really about broadcasting, right? It's the update platform. It's about now, 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 now. Google Plus, we hope and we believe, is a sort of mixture of many of these, right? It's about relevance. So, and I'll get into that when we talk a little bit more about Google Plus. But it gives you this granularity to either be a broadcaster a la Twitter or to share stuff with relevant people at a relevant time. And really segment it how it represents your real life. But YouTube we think of as the engagement platform, right? People come here for entertainment, inspiration, and we can see this unfold in things like the Arab Spring, right? Look at how these different platforms were used during the Egyptian uprising. Facebook, that was really used to organize the groups that started the revolution. And in fact, one of the main organizers was an ex-Google employee, Wael Ghanim. Whereas Twitter was used on the ground when media was blocked, right? Or when internet was blocked, people were using a service that allowed you to leave a voicemail that would get transcribed to a tweet. And it was giving out these updates from all over, even once the Egyptian government had cut off internet access. And then YouTube was really used to show in a much more evocative, a much more emotional way what was happening on the ground, right? So what was the government doing, or what was the army not doing? So these things all serve their purpose, and really were all very important in having this happen. And in terms of what the shoppers are doing, right, what the consumers are actually doing, it's really varying depending on what vertical you're talking about. So in this case, we did a bunch of research on what auto shoppers are doing, and they're all over the map, right? They're using video in certain ways, so 17% are watching video posted by others, 21% are watching video sent to them by friends and family. But really, the main point is that half of them are using these different platforms to research brands and find out more information and really use it as a mechanism for purchase consideration. So it's the main takeaway. We don't need to go into all the stats. From a video perspective, where do we see the biggest opportunity? It's turning video into earned media, right? So already we see these big numbers. I'm sorry to keep hitting you with numbers and numbers, but we'll see some actual case studies in a minute. So 30% of viewers, right? Hopefully that was about approximately who raised their hands. 30% of viewers will share with a friend after watching a video. Actually, I think in here it was probably only 5%, but We have some work to do then. And 500 videos are shared on Twitter every single minute, 500 YouTube videos. Really the most shocking stat to me, there's 150 years of video being consumed on Facebook every single day. So all these things are very much intertwined. And what's really interesting is how they get spread, right? And how long they live for. So does anybody know Bitly here? The service Bitly? No? It's a link shortener. So it's just a way of tracking URLs and things like that that you share, shortening links. They went back and did a study on the various platforms that their links are posted to. And what they wanted to see was how long do these last, right? What's the half-life? So the half-life being after it's had its peak, how many hours after its peak before it really drops off? Or sorry, the half the clicks it'll receive after it reaches peak. And you can see Twitter is an immediate platform, right? It has the shortest half-life. So the links that people share on Twitter, 2.5 hours later, it's really dropped off very, very dramatically in terms of people clicking in on those links. Facebook is a little bit longer. Email is a little bit longer. And they both scale quicker, right? So somebody shares it on one of those platforms and it gets the majority of its links really quickly. It goes right up. Whereas YouTube is sort of this kind of slow to build but longer to last version. Meaning that links that are shared, their YouTube links tend to be longer lasting, right? They're relevant for longer and people are sharing them for longer. And as an advertiser, that means that you have an opportunity to get that sort of amplification of earned media for a longer time. It's not just something, I have a 2.5 hour window and then nobody cares. It's something where if it's relevant content, people will share it out longer and longer. I don't know if that makes sense, so it's better just to show you sort of videos of how this actually works. Does anybody know this? Kobe Bryant's jumping over a car? Yeah? Okay. What's that? Yeah, yeah. Aston Martin? Yeah, I think. Yeah, if I remember right. So this is one of those first, is it real, is it fake videos? You know, then that's something that is still popular on the platform even 4 years later. But what was interesting is that the YouTube videos only accounted for 15% of the overall video views, right? The rest was 85% in terms of earned media. Well, so let me actually show you the video and then you can see kind of what I'm talking about.
I got it. I got it. I will be there. I will be there. Perfectly healthy. I got this. I got this. You trust your boy? You trust your boy? Come on, man. Hey, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Just watch what I do, man. Come on, bring it down. I told you. I told you. March 31st, 2008, baby. That is how you jump over an Aston Martin, boy. That's how you do it. Hyper dunks. Do not try this at home.
So it was, it was one of these real or fake videos, and because it wasn't just a commercial, there were copies, there were derivatives, there were ripoffs that happened. And rather than try to have people take them down, they just allowed it to happen. All right, this is all Nike. Obviously, it's fake. That guy's worth like $200 million. He's not going to jump over a car. But so yeah, so you can see there's all these views on other sites, not just on the platform, and all these different copies that actually account for way more than just the original actual placement. So just this idea of fans carrying the brand forward, right? Fans doing your advertising for you. And that's been a playbook that people have been using for a while now, is getting people who are interested either as they're passionate about the person in the video, or is it real, is it fake, gets people discussing it, right? Gets people watching it, gets people sharing it. In the interest of time, I'll ignore this. Everybody knows this, everybody's sick of it, and we're all looking for our own version of it, but it was obviously a tremendous success, yada yada. Moving on. This is a really interesting case. So this is Toyota. They did something called Swagger Wagon, and give it a little bit of context, right? This is last summer, and Toyota is coming off a huge PR disaster. The brakes are failing on their cars. They're recalling millions of cars. People have died. Their sales are tremendously down. And they ran this campaign around Swagger Wagon. And for those who aren't familiar, This is what it looked like. So it's for their minivan series, the Sienna.
Yeah, this one goes out to all you minivan families out there. Sienna SE in the house.
Where my mother father's at?
Where my kids at?
Where my kids at? Or 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 where my kids at?
No, seriously, honey, where are the kids?
They're right there, see?
Oh, cool beans.
I roll hard through the streets and the cul-de-sacs. Proud parent of an honor roll student, Jack. I got a swing in the front, a tree house in the back. My #1 dad mug says, yeah, I'm the Mac.
I'm the world's best nurse when my kids get sick. I make a mean gel mold, I perfected my tricks. Back when I used to party as a college chick. Now I'm cruising to their play dates, looking all slick.
In my swagger wagon, yeah, the swagger wagon. It's the swagger wagon.
So they ran this, and then something interesting started happening. People started making their own, right? So people started spoofing this, and people just started doing their own trick. Actually, no. Is this the original? Where's the Henderson? Yeah. So people just started creating their own versions. There was no call to action in the video. It wasn't a contest. And Toyota was agile enough. Their agency was agile enough to start tapping into this, right? So these people were just spoofing it. Oops. I'm screwing up here. So Toyota and their agency was agile enough to actually then figure out what was happening, and the idea of sort of real-time planning comes into play. And then they took that. There was no call to action in the video, and said people are already doing this themselves. Why don't we give them the tools to do it? So they created a channel on YouTube. They had a downloadable track, and they were giving shout-outs saying, create your own version of this, and we'll reward you basically. And it turned this thing into a complete phenomenon, not unlike some of the Old Spice sort of spoofs that you saw. And it really had a huge increase in terms of the sales results. So they saw more than double the average of minivan sales in the month of November when this campaign was running and when it was wrapping up. And they've since come back and done some follow-ups on it and really given users the tools to create their own sort of swagger wagon stuff and asked, what sort of things would you like to see from us in the future? So understanding that there's a lot you can do once you have the audience engaged is something that was really powerful for this campaign. So next, everyone knows this, right? Evian. Most viewed online ad in history, right? It's gotten millions and millions of views. Don't really care so much about that. What is really important about this is how paid media led to earned media. So this is their YouTube insights. This area here is all advertising, right? There's 48 hours of content being uploaded to YouTube every minute. So even if you have great creative, you need to generate cut-through. And you got to do it with paid media. That's the #1 thing. 99% of the virals from an advertiser perspective, not just organic virals, all have paid media behind them. So it's something that's absolutely necessary, and you can see once it gets enough organic sharing, they just drop the ad spend right off, right? So as soon as enough people were sharing it themselves, as soon as it hit a critical mass, they dropped the ad spend off, and then the rest of it took off. But in the beginning stages, just to generate that cut through, they needed to do it. Same thing happened with TipX, and really that's what we see on all successful quote-unquote viral campaigns, is some sort of paid media behind it. The one exception is the VW, the Force ad. That was purely earned media play. But in that case, they had, Deutsche LA had a rapid response team basically seeding it and really pushing it in the first couple of days. So how to amplify paid to earned, like I said, it's driving it through, driving the earned stuff through media investments. We all know how this works, right? The paid actually leads to more views. What's important here is that this will help you surface organically because paid views actually count towards your view count. So then when people are searching, you'll surface higher organically for these. Homepage takeovers actually help to trigger somewhat of a viral effect. We've seen things around between 20 and 40% of viral amplification based off of homepage advertising. And then obviously owned, whatever your actual content calendar is, using that to drive back to viewership of the video. And then last but not least is the earned. And what we've seen is that on average, a user sharing your video on Twitter will result in 7 more views, so 7 more sessions for that video. So it really does have this tremendous amplification effect. And there's really a template that's been set in terms of how this works to maximum effect. Kia did it for the Kia Soul hamsters. I don't know if you've seen that campaign with the CGI sort of hip-hop hamsters. They ran a homepage, they ran some of the formats that I was talking about, both in search and in stream. They had tremendous assets in terms of owned media, both their brand channel, their brand website, and their Facebook page. And that just, again, exploded in terms of earned media. So this was the #1 viral auto video and the #5 overall viral. So that's all well and good, but how do you actually measure this stuff? I'm sure you have 35 different KPIs already for social media metrics. I'm going to add 5 more. Now, these are really simple things, right? So we don't try to get too crazy with it. I think they're simple things that are meaningful. Call them what you want. They're really easily available. They can all be seen through YouTube Insights. And #1 is conversation rate. So what are the number of audience comments for your video? #2 is amplification rate. So how many people are actually sharing it? And you can obviously do this either via the existing YouTube tools or things like tracking pixels, things like that. 3rd is applause rate. So how many +1s or likes you're getting. And +1s are becoming increasingly important as that spreads across all of our properties. And perhaps most importantly, the earned rate. So what's the ratio of that paid spend versus the earned video views? And you really want to see that earned rate going up and up over time, right? If you're Evian, the rate initially was very, very small, but then it had something, it was just going up and up and up after they dropped the ad spend. And then last but not least, what's the economic value? So if you have analytics installed on your channel, on your videos, you can actually do these in terms of tracking conversions and things like that, and seeing, via remarketing, giving different messages to user, and really trying to push them via different messaging if they've seen a particular video, right? You can then expose them to things that, if you're showing them a branding video, that may be more direct response related because they've seen that video. So there's some things that you can do that are really simple that help to actually drive purchase. So those are some of the metrics, key takeaways. Video inspires social behavior. Maybe not so much in this room, but generally. And then earned media can really happen when these consumers and fans are carrying your brand forward through that behavior. And then most obvious, paid and owned, drive to earned. And last but not least, social success can be measured, right? It doesn't have to just be fluffy. There are some actual easy numbers that you can pick out and use as significant KPIs for your clients. So, any questions on that side of things? Cool. In the back? The baby video? I certainly can. I actually find it a bit creepy. Am I the only one? No? Yeah? Okay.
You hit it to the hip, hip, hop, you don't stop, the rock it to the bang, bang, boogie, say up, jump, the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat.
Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rocking to the beat, and me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. See, I am Wonder Mike, and I'd like to say hello. Bang, bang, boogie to the boogie, the up, jump, the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie, let's rock. You don't stop. Rock the rhythm that'll make your body rock. Real so fun. You heard my voice, and then I brought 2 friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, come and sing that song, that song.
If any of you guys are ever in New York, actually, if you go to Central Park in the spring or the summer, there's not babies, but there are a lot of roller skaters, not like classic roller skates doing roller disco, basically, by Sheep's Meadow. So if you ever go to New York, it's worth checking that out.